No one aspires to be a refugee. That is a status that is suddenly inflicted upon a person by unbearable political upheaval and violence, persecution, economic collapse, or devastating natural disaster. Many of our own American immigration stories are about people seeking refuge from these very conditions. Becoming a refugee happens over a few hours or a few days, as when the angel appeared to Joseph in a dream and told him to take Mary and the young Jesus and flee to Egypt to escape the slaughter that Herod had ordered of all the young children. And so, overnight, God incarnate, the Prince of Peace, the Savior of the world, became a refugee, fleeing to Egypt, the same place where his earthly ancestors fled many generations ago in order to escape severe famine. Through the story of the Israelites and Jesus, God invites us to engage in radical hospitality. In Leviticus, God tells us to treat the stranger in our land as a native and to love that stranger as ourselves. In Matthew's Gospel, Jesus blesses those who showed hospitality to the marginalized, the least of these, saying, "For I was a stranger, and you welcomed me." Lutheran Immigration and Refugee Service has been engaged in this ministry of welcome and hospitality since 1939, when American Lutherans responded to the needs of displaced European Lutherans as totalitarianism, war, and destruction swept throughout Europe. With the U.S. entry into World War II, this ministry was shut down, but it resumed zealously after the war to resettle displaced persons in Europe, 1/3 of whom were Lutheran. Since that crisis, LIRS, a joint ministry of the ELCA and the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod, has walked with 500,000 refugees of all nationalities and beliefs, offering them encouragement and hope for a new life in a new place. It takes courage to rebuild a new life in a new country, courage to keep moving when you're uprooted from everything and often from everyone you hold dear, courage to overcome trauma and grief, courage to learn a new culture, a new language, new systems, new jobs, courage to light the way for others on that same journey. Rebecca is just one story among tens of thousands. She was born in Sudan. Her mother died in childbirth, and her father was killed when she was 7 during an attack in their village during that country's violent civil war. She and other villagers ran for days, fleeing to Kenya for refuge, where Rebecca spent 7 years in a refugee camp, which was rather desolate. When she was 14, LIRS got involved and placed her with a loving foster family in Michigan. It was an adjustment, especially to a new environment. Arriving in November, she remembers the barren trees and asking if the trees were diseased and dead. Fall and winter in Africa are warmer and a lot greener, and wondering what kind of a place she had been sent to. Gradually, she learned English, attended school, picked up American customs, and became a U.S. citizen. Because people were walking with her and understanding what she needed to feel safe and successful, Rebecca felt embraced and empowered. And she has thrived with the help of her foster parents, her community, her school, and her congregation. She now holds a master's degree and is part of a ministry that serves women and children, and she works with the American Bible Society, providing biblically based trauma healing in refugee camps, a job that takes her all over the world and back to her early days. But this time, when she's back in Africa, she's back with hope, bringing that hope to others. By the grace of God, Rebecca's life was transformed from one of merely survival to one of homecoming and love, service, and success. LIRS is one of 10 national organizations that resettle refugees on behalf of the U.S. Department of State, and it ranks near the top in doing so. There is an urgent need for such work because on any given day, approximately 45 million people are living forcibly separated from the place they call home. Nearly half of them are children. What can we do to help? In addition to holding the work of LIRS in our prayers, We also have the opportunity to support this ministry financially. In honor of its 75th anniversary, LIRS is challenging each congregation to raise $750 for its ministry. This is an easily achievable goal, especially if we each do a little. $750 is $5 from 150 people, or $10 from 75, or $15 from 50, or 25 from 30. Just make your check out to Emmanuel, write LRS on the memo line, and put it in one of the pew envelopes and put it in the offering plate. Walking with the refugee, seeing Christ in the face of the stranger, extending gracious hospitality, offering support, and bringing hope is God's work in our hands.
Thank you, Karen. The peace of Christ be with you always.